DeRusso, the Majestic rider. So today I'm going to talk about mares. This is my mare Tilly over here, and a lot of people like mares and a lot of people don't like mares, and sometimes it's for the same exact reasons. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between mares and geldings. Now, the best thing to do is to start with herd behavior so you really understand what mares are about. Mares are usually the leader of the herd when they're out in the wild. There's usually one alpha mare. That's usually the bravest one and the smartest one, and she's the one who leads them to food and water and also leads them away when there's danger. So she tells them when to eat, she tells them when to drink, and she tells them when to run, which is very important in keeping them alive. The stallion, on the other hand, is not the lead horse. He's actually the protector of the herd. So he is keeping animals away from them so they don't get eaten, and also preventing other stallions to come in and breed with his herd. Now, if you have a mare, again, there's differences in mares. So you might have an alpha mare, and she would probably be very brave. She might be a little bit pushy, and she might be very smart. And then you have other mares that are not alpha mares, and they would be somewhere back in the herd depending on their bravery and how smart they are. Each horse will have its social order. So not all mares will be the same, and that's important to know, but that's the same with geldings. Not all geldings are the same. So there's smart ones, there's not so smart ones. And there's agile ones and ones that are not so agile, friendly and not friendly. So it's the same with mares. So you will have some mares that when they go into heat, and this is why some people don't like them, they get very moody. But for women, it's very easy to understand if you think about it. Because when they go into the heat, that's the same thing as like when we're ovulating, okay? Because they ovulate. So they get cramps, they get pain, and they get moody. Why do they get moody? Because their hormones are moving around. You know, their hormones are going up and down, and depending on that, depends on how moody they are. Now, you might say, well, I'm not moody, but I bet you have some friends that are moody. So again, everybody's different. So some of the mares, when they go into heat, they'll have a lot of pain, and other mares, when they go into heat, you would have no idea that they're in pain. Now, some mares, when they go into heat, really have a strong breeding instinct, so they're always peeing on other horses, trying to tell the other horses that they are in heat. Other ones don't care so much, and again, you would never know. Some mares, when they get into that heat, they kind of tease the geldings. They want them to come over, and then they're like, you can come over, but not that close, and then they'll kick at them or bite them, and you'll see them go back and forth with the gelding. But if you watch the gelding, if it's a horse stalled next to it, you'll see very easily they figure out what to do. They're like, she wants me to scratch her back, but now she doesn't want me to touch her. She wants me to scratch her tail because it's itchy, but now she said stop. Okay, so those are reasons the mare might turn around, give them a nasty look, or pin her ears, or kick at them because she's telling them what to do. Now, the problem with that is when you're riding these mares, if they are in heat, they can be moody. They can be sensitive to your leg because they can be crampy, so you don't want to kick them because that would upset them because they're not feeling good. And then their work ethic might be a little bit different if they don't feel good. So some mares, when they get really moody, it's best to talk to your vet and see if you can put them on something. Like, can you put them on some pain medication? Or should we put her on some hormones to ease her heat so it's not as bad? So there are many options you can do. Some people will even spay their mares if they are really having a hard time with it. Now, we spay dogs all the time, and it's not a big deal, right? So we're so used to that. But with horses, we don't usually do it as much, but it usually works, and it usually does help the owners a fair amount. Now, besides them ovulating and having pain and being a little bit moody, again, each one is different. So what you're trying to do is know the kind of mare you have. Is it more alpha, or is it more a follower or in the back? When it goes into heat, does it get crampy? Or is it a mare that's very interested in breeding, and so she might be one that tends to stop and pee a lot? But again, once you know those things, then you can come up with a plan on how to work with it. Now, some people who have mares just let them get away with murder. And the reason for this is mares are very smart, and they can outsmart people in minutes. And that's the same thing with mules. Like, some people don't like mules, and it's because the mules are so smart. They're like, I got it. Don't tell me what to do because you'll piss me off. Mares are the same way. If they're super smart, they don't want you to tell them what to do. They will like you to show them what to do and tell them what their job is, and then they go, I got it. Stop telling me 1,000 times. I got it. Just let me do it. Okay? So sometimes they just get mad because you keep telling them over and over what to do. So with the mares, when I'm teaching them, it might be a fight in the beginning because they usually come in and they've had some bad behavior and they've been spoiled, and so they don't want to work and they don't want to do what I'm asking them to do. So it can be a little bit of a back and forth fight in the beginning, and they can have some temper tantrums as we're going through it. The thing with mares versus geldings, when they come in and they're having some bad behavior, is you can't get after them too much. You have to do it in the right way. So you usually have to convince the mare that you're smarter than them. And then when you're smarter than them, they want to follow you, just like in a herd. But if it's an alpha mare and you're not very smart, she's going to test you a lot. She's going to test you every day, and she's going to test you several times a day to see if you're up for leading. So those mares will actually teach you good leadership skills because you have to adapt and show them that you are a trustworthy leader and they should follow you. So examples of this are like you're going out on the trail and the mare is very brave all the time, and you get somewhere and she goes, I'm not going there. The reason she's saying that is because they have high self-preservation. Again, they lead the pack, so they're trying to keep you and her safe. Now, if it's something like mud and she thinks she's going to step in the mud and it's quicksand and she's going to die, she's going to shut down and just stand there and not go. And if you start beating her up, a lot of times they'll rear up, kick out, spin around, run the other way, and do all sorts of things. The easiest way to get through that is you go, it's just mud, honey. We can get through this. And she's like, nope. So if you have another horse, you can send the other horse first, usually a gelding. Send them first. And they'll go through it, and they'll come back, and she goes, oh, okay, it's safe. I will go. But the reason she wouldn't go is reasonable because she wants to keep you safe. The other thing is you're out alone, so you just get off her, and you walk through it first, and she'll see that you didn't die, and after you didn't die, she goes, yeah, I'm willing to do that for you. But again, if you just try to beat her up and send her through it, she thinks she's going to die. So no matter what you do, she's too smart. She's like, you can kick me all you want, and I'm just going to stand here. I'm not going. And that's that. So you got to see what kind of mare do you have. Do you have one that's more of a follower or one that's more of a leader? But you have to understand when they get to things like that where they won't do things, many times it's because of self-preservation. Other times it's because they've been spoiled and nobody's worked with them to get through things. So when they say they don't want to do it, nobody makes them do it. And I hear a lot of people say that too with their horse when they're walking around and they kick out or do something nasty. They go, well, she's a mare, that's why. Yes, she's doing it because she's a mare, but it's still unacceptable. So when they do those things, and again, we're trying to keep us safe around these horses, if they kick out or bite or get moody with another horse, you do have to show them the rules and what to do. When they do those things, associate it with work, associate it with something that's unpleasant. And when they do the right thing, like they're standing there and they're not pinning their ears or giving a nasty face to anybody, that's when you reward them. Never reward them when they pin their ears or do something bad, because you're just rewarding a bad behavior, which makes them do that behavior more. So you only want to reward with the good behavior. Now mares, again, since they're so smart, when you teach them, you have to be very careful with your timing and feel. The horse will associate any kind of release with a reward, and they think that's what you want them to do. So if she kicked out at me and I walked away, that's a release. So she associates kicking with me leaving, and she'll do it again to get me away from her. Now again, in the herd, that might be okay. A gelding's bothering her or a stallion's trying to mount her and she wants none of it. She kicks out, they go away because they know they can get hurt. But with humans, she's not allowed to do that. So if she kicks out, I might pick up that rope, back her around my shed, start lunging her, give her some work to do, take her back over here, let her graze again. And when she grazes, if she kicks out again, I'll repeat that. Now again, with mares, it doesn't take many times to do that. You can usually do it a couple of times and they got it, where if a gelding did that, you might have to do it many more times. So don't accept behavior. You have to show them how to function in society, keep people safe, and keep other horses safe. If I'm riding a mare and she doesn't like another horse coming up next to her, you want to think, what's the reason why? Well, the reason why is she wants her own space. She doesn't want them too close, especially if it's a gelding, because, again, they might try to mount her. Now, if the other horse is a mare, she might not want that mare real close to her because she might be a little bit possessive of you. Like, you know, this is my guy and I don't want you by him. I don't want you to take him away from me. So just like women, they can get jealous. So that can be the reason why. But what you have to teach them is, I know you don't like that other mare or gelding, but guess what? You're going to have to ride right next to him. So if they kick out or try to bite at that other horse, you want to make sure you got that good foundation on that horse so you can move its body parts and show it what to do. So if I have one that likes to kick at other horses, I ride right next to those other horses and I push the mare's hindquarters away. So if she kicks away from them so they can't get hurt. If she was just doing something with her head, then I might just keep her head bent the other direction to keep that away from her. But you got to be careful because when you turn their head one way, their butt goes the other way. So you don't want to turn their head and then have them kick the horse. When they kick out, again, what they're trying to do is get that other horse away. So if that other horse moves away, you rewarded them. They will kick next time. But if they kick out, you put their feet to work, or you get closer to that other horse, or you put their feet to work, and I always go back to the horse. Like I saw one lady trying to reprimand her horse, and she was kicking all her life. And I said, would you like some help? And she said, yeah. She said, I get after her every time. And what she did is the horse would kick at somebody, and she would gallop that horse around the arena, and then she would go walk by herself. And I said, the reason she's doing that is you're rewarding the behavior. She doesn't mind the work. She doesn't care that you're running her around because in the end, she's getting what she wants. She gets to be by herself. So the answer is, if they do that, sure, you can run them around and get after them, but then go right back over to that other horse or what they didn't like, okay? Only take them away from that other horse when they're being good. So if they can walk and they're not pinning their ears, sure, give them a break. Go away from the horse, give it some treats or give it some scratches, let it have its own space for a minute, and then go back and repeat. Every time the horse is good with them, then take them away and reward them, and each time do it longer and longer. And you'll be surprised how quickly you'll go from a kicking nasty mare to one that's actually quite nice. So again, some of us is us doing the wrong things. And they're so smart that if our timing is wrong, then they will learn the wrong thing. So that's what you have to be careful. Like if she kicked at somebody and then I didn't do anything for 10 seconds, then I got after her, ran her around, and brought her up to that other horse. She might not make that connection because the horses connect things usually within 3 seconds after the movement that they do. So if she kicked at me and I immediately did something, she'll connect that. If she kicked at me, I walked over there, got a stick, grabbed the rope, did all the stuff, she won't know why I'm getting after her, starting to lunge her, because there's no association. So you have to be very clear with that. Now remember, when you have a mare, it's either alpha or follower. So if it's a follower, they really need you to be a leader. If it's an alpha, they need you to be a great leader, or they're not going to do what you ask them to do. So I always tell people, horses are mirrors, and they'll show you your weaknesses. But it's up to you to then work on those weaknesses to be a better horseman or horsewoman. If you're not willing to do that, then maybe mares are not for you. Now, when Tilly came, see how sweet she is? She's very kind and sweet, and she likes hugs, and she likes to be scratched, but she's not very funny. Geldings are usually very silly, just like guys, right? They make us laugh. So she's pretty serious about most things, and she loves to be scratched and hugged, and she's more of a follower. She's not an alpha mare. She's not super brave, so I have to be the brave one to help her. I had her down there grazing. I walked away, and 2 seconds later, she was up here because she wanted not to be with me just because she's friendly. She wanted to be with me because she feels safe with me, because she knows I'm the leader, so she doesn't want to stay by herself. An alpha mare would have just stayed off there and wandered around and went around the barn. Okay? So that's how you can figure out the difference. Now, with her, she had some bad manners. She did a fair amount of pawing, and I have that video on pawing with her, and I taught her to hobble. And over I tied her up. Every time she started pawing when she was tied, once I taught her how to hobble, I just went over and put the hobbles on and walked away. So she didn't get attention, she didn't get relief, and I made it worse for her. Now, she was very smart, and she's going to knock the camera over. But she's very smart, and the first thing she said is, I'm going to have a temper tantrum, because she thought that would get her out of it. And she reared up and did all sorts of stuff, reared up higher than my shed. And I just walked by laughing because I was like, that's not going to work with me. No, it's not going to work. And so that went on, and she didn't give up easy. It went on for some weeks. And every day I just tied her up and left her there for an hour, 2 hours. And I only took her out of there when she was behaving. So in the beginning, if she was jumping up and down for an hour and she stayed still for 1 minute, that's when I undid the hobbles and took her out. And then the next time she had to be still for 5 minutes and so on. And then we worked it up to now she will just stand there for hours while I'm doing stuff. But I had to prove to her if she didn't do it the way I wanted, she was not going to get relief. She was just going to get something that was more annoying for her. Okay? Now you think, if I did something with a horse, why would they like me so much? Because they're looking for leaders. They're looking for rules. They're looking for somebody that's going to protect them. Sure, they like having friends, but their herd mentality tells them, I need a good leader or I am a good leader. And so that's what they're looking for. So when you're out on the trails, you're doing obstacle courses and you're doing all these things and you have a mare, again, you have to prove to them you're not going to hurt them. You have to prove to them that it's safe, and then they're more than willing to do it. And after they've done it once and they know it's safe, then they usually don't have a problem with it. It's kind of like you come out on the trail and they see something, they go, hell no, I'm not going over there. And they run backwards, and you're like, it's okay, it's fine. And you let them look at it for a little bit. You sit back, keep your hands wide, let them turn their head back and forth and take a look. And then you wait until they don't care anymore. Now, it can take a long time in the beginning, but that's what you have to do to build their trust. And she was really like that. She would run backwards. Then you get a little closer, I'd let her look again. She'd go through the same thing. Then we get a little closer, then I'd look again. She'd look again. If I didn't want to do that, I would just get off, walk her by the object, get back on, and ride her by it. Because what she wanted to see was she wasn't going to die and that I was a trustworthy leader. But I had to prove it to her because she didn't know me then. So as time goes on, she's much better. Now she believes me. So if she gets to something and she's like panicky, I will let her look for a minute or two. You know, not 20 minutes, not an hour, just a couple minutes. And I go, come on, Tilly, we got to go now. And she goes, really? I really got to do that? And I go, yeah, you got to do it. Come on, let's go. So then I push her forward and she goes, okay, yes, ma'am, because I know what will happen if I don't go. So if she doesn't go, I either get off and help her. That's what I did in the beginning. But now I'll just, see how smart she is? She figured out the cookie thing. But now I'll just give her work to do. I was like, you don't want to go? Then let's go over here and do some work. And then I'll come over here and ask you to go again. And if you go, we'll just go off and you won't have to do that work. But if you don't, then I'm going to put your feet to work again and off we go. Okay, Tilly. Thank you. Tilly kept messing with the cookie bin, and so I said, well, guess what? You're not getting any, and I'm putting you back in the stall. So that taught her, if you mess with that, you don't get to stay out here grazing. Okay. So with the mares, again, what you're trying to see when you're going to buy one is, one, can you handle them? Are you smart enough? Are you a good leader? Two, do you understand them so you can work through problems with them? You can't overpower them like you can a lot of geldings, where a gelding doesn't do something and you just get out there and spur them and hit them with the stick and off they go. Not all geldings, but a lot of them you can kind of overpower, or you can kind of confuse them and then they will go forward. So you have to know those things. And then you have to think, do I want a silly horse like a gelding? Like this is Shane and he's very cute and funny, right? And he's very sweet. He's smart, but not as smart as her. Or do you want something that's more serious and focused? Do you need a horse that's going to protect you when you're branding cows or something like that? Because remember, mares are the ones that lead, but they're also protecting the front of the herd, and the stallion is protecting the back. And the mares, when they have babies, just like bears, protect those babies. And they're going to treat you a little bit like their baby if they think that you are not a good leader, then they think they have to protect you. But that's helpful if you're branding cows or something, because you could have the horse loose. She'll circle around you and stay there, and you'll see some videos of them kicking out at cows to keep to keep the mother cow away and to keep the person branding the horse safe. So you can teach geldings to do that too, but it's more innate in mares because, again, they're going to protect their baby. So remember, some of the things they do, it might be because they're moody, or it might be because they think they're in charge, and other times they're doing it because they want to protect you. Now, the geldings are more forgiving than mares. Mares want you to get smarter, and they want you to figure it out. And if that doesn't make sense, I want you to think of it this way. How many times have you gotten in a fight with a man and you want them to do something and you think they'd figure out what to do to help you not be mad anymore, but they don't? You really got to tell them, like, hey, you did something really bad. If you got me some flowers, took me out to get dinner, or gave me a back massage, then I'll be over it. But they can't figure that out. So you have to tell them. And you can't feel like they should be smart enough to figure it out, because that's just how they're made. So it's the same with the geldings here. We got to kind of tell them what to do. And if I'm opening a fence, you know, say I'm opening this gate here, I'm going to tell him each step what to do unless he figures it out and he's very smart. But otherwise, you just tell them over and over again, and they do the job, and they're quite happy with it. If they get to something they're a little scared of, you can kind of push them, and if they're a little bit more scared of you, they will go and do the job without a problem and usually not shut down. Again, the mares, if you do something wrong, the mares will get mad and they just go, nope, not doing it. And you can kick them and do all sorts of stuff, and they go, no, I'm not doing it. Ever see a woman do that? Yep. Yep. They get pissed off and they're like, I'm not talking to you, not making dinner, I'm not doing anything. And that's the mare, okay? So same kind of thing. So the geldings, more people get along with them because they're more forgiving. Not all of them, you know, but generally they're more forgiving, and they're silly and funny and sweet, but they can be a little bit more nippy or mouthy because they want to play with you, where the mares usually are not like that, okay? The mare just wants to be scratched and hugged and put her head in your lap and just be very sweet, and the boys want to play around. Sound familiar? Now, if you think of all those things, you'll start to realize the mares and the geldings are just like men and women, except the geldings don't have that much testosterone, okay? So that has changed them a little bit on not being as aggressive. They're calmer, but it also has changed their brain that some of them are not as smart because we took some of that testosterone away from them, okay? Now, if you have a gelding and it's put next to a mare, what happens is they change, okay? Because what do they want in life? They think they're supposed to breed. So even though they're a gelding, they still have that urge. So then they take that mare on as a girlfriend. And if you have one mare and two geldings, you can start having a fight because one claims it as the girlfriend, and then the other one wants it as a girlfriend, and they start fighting over it, and they become really stupid and goofy, and then they don't start paying attention to their job anymore. There was this one cattle drive not far from here, and they wouldn't let any mares come at all because they said if the mares come, the geldings get stupid, and then we can't get the cattle drive done, okay? So just know that the geldings can get attached to the mares can get attached to the geldings, because they become like girlfriend and boyfriend. So you might have to work on some buddy sour things and separating those horses and rewarding them when you separate them, and when you put them together, give them some work to do. Canter circles around the other horse. Go away and rest it. Come back, canter circles around it. Go away and rest it. You can back circles around it. You can gait around it. Do lots of turning. Anything to work that horse's feet so he understands, hey, being by that mare isn't so good right now. And yet when they're stalled, you can let them be. That's fine. It's just that they make the association. When you're under saddle, you go to work and you ignore her and you don't pay attention to her. You can't do that while you're at work. But just know that they can get attached and become boyfriend and girlfriend. It's very cute in the beginning until they become too attached, and then you start having issues separating them, or when you're riding together, one of them doesn't focus on the rider. So some of the things between geldings and mare, there are some similarities, but you have to know that the mare is hormonal. She can be more moody, but she has reasons why. And to know that she is supposed to be the leader of the herd. Now, I'm sure I didn't cover everything in here, so I'll try to make another video about mares and geldings. But just know everybody loves them for different reasons, right, silly boy? He's like, yeah, you put your head in the camera. And when they're good, no matter if it's mare or gelding, then that's a great horse. And when they're bad, doesn't matter if it's mare or gelding, it's a bad horse acting up. So you have to help them, guide them, but just know some of the basic on why they do things, so it will help you more on figuring out ways to correct them. Hope that helps.